Welcome to Aspen Updates in an Instant for the 2409 release. Let me get my screen shared here. All right, there we go. As always, I just want to start off thanking all of our contributors. So I scroll down to the bottom here. So we've had contributions from Bywater Solutions, Grove, Howell Carnegie District Library, Nashville Public Library, PTFS Europe, and Tech A Solutions. I counted it up. It's 11 contributors from 6 organizations. And those are, of course, just development people that are contributing code. We have lots of other people contributing ideas and QA and that kind of thing. So it really is a community effort, as Michael kind of said. We've got lots of people involved. Also wanted to point out Minuteman Library Network sponsored some development this month, which is wonderful to see. Thank you for doing that. Then I'll just jump back up at the beginning. As always, we talk a little bit about some of the patches that we had. So some quick patch notes, just some little Koha updates in 240801, and some updates for a library that was migrating from BiblioCommons over to Aspen. Then 240810, the real notable thing from this, that I won't demo this time, but doing self-registration with the Sierra Patron API. That's really cool. Anytime that we can use the APIs, much better for that. It just makes everything much more reliable. So really cool functionality there. Sierra libraries now have the ability to do self-registration, which is cool. Also some other little minor things, some Carl X updates, and Nashville did some report updates for some of their circulation reports. All right. Jumping back to 2409. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of things that we talk about this time that don't get demoed, but we'll go through them as we can. So in Lita, the big new feature there is the cloud library, being able to use the alternate library card. We showed this last month for within Discovery, where this is primarily the Kansas state or any of the libraries within Kansas. They have a shared digital collection through Cloud Library that uses the Kansas State library card rather than the local library card. So you're now able to enter that within Lita in order to check out Cloud Library materials from Lita, which is really cool. And then, of course, bug fixes and that kind of thing. Lots of API updates this time. APIs are, of course, how we interact with third-party systems or with Lita. So lots of good updates there that build on future things, or future things we'll build on. For Cloud Library, we also did some work as part of doing the Lita work. Previously, you could have multiple Cloud Library collections assigned to a single library. That didn't work real well and nobody was using it. So we reduced it to where you can only assign one library scope per library and per location. And that just made it work better for Lita. Moving on. So Docker, Tech A Solutions has been doing lots and lots of work on Docker. They've been updating a lot of that. It's getting real close to being ready for production use, which is super cool. So that's cool. Nashville has been working on adding SnapPay, so a brand new e-commerce platform for people to use if they're interested in. I think that gives us something like a dozen e-commerce platforms, so super flexible with that. That'll be nice to see. GitHub Actions. So these are just some little tools for Aspen developers to kind of help check quality of code as it gets submitted. Just some double checking to make sure that you're dotting I's and crossing T's and that kind of thing. So those have been evolving over the last month. All right, then we have, this was one of the community's top priorities. So the idea here was the ability to customize the sort order of records or yeah, of formats within a grouped work. So previously what we've had is, let me show it first. So we get everything sorted in order. So we get book, e-audiobook, ebook, large print. We have a lot of libraries that say like, hey, because I've got e-audiobook and ebook listed, people don't scroll down and look to see that I have large print. They really wanted to go through and customize those. So we've added that. So we've got the ability now where, to get zoom bar out of my way. So in grouped work display settings, we now have the ability to set format sorting. So this will then apply per library or to whatever grouped work display settings you have set up for each library. So down here we have format sorting. This can be changed according to whatever you want. And then it shows up here within the grouped works display. So here we've got our sorts. I'm just looking at the default one now. By default, we can set these based off the grouping category. So the idea is, hey, if I'm looking at movies and I want to sort my movies, we've got fewer. In this case, I've got a development machine. So we've got some journals and stuff that got grouped as categories or that were movies before. But I can custom sort my movies versus my books so that I can kind of control how those go. For comics here, if I wanted to sort those, I've got e-comic and graphic novel. So I could say like, yeah, you know what? I want my graphic novel first. Movies, I'm fine with alphabetical. Books, let's apply a custom sort here. So I went ahead and set this up. So I've got book and then large print and then everything else. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll look to see how as we refresh, we'll see now, okay, now we've got book and large print and e-audiobook and ebook. Maybe we want to push all of our audiobooks to the end too. So we could do that and say, hey, let's open up the books. We'll go down to our ebook, e-audiobook. I'm just going to drag ebook up a little bit, save that, and refresh, and then e-audiobook drops down to the bottom. So a couple things to note too. So by default, when you create one, it's going to load all of the formats you have active in your system. If you add a format, it will just sort alphabetically at the end by default, but you can always click the update active formats and that will load anything from your catalog that is showing. So this is all specific to your catalog. So everybody will have different lists of those because everybody has a little bit different format. Just check chat real quick because I see there's a bunch of them.
All right.
All right. Very cool. Nothing to talk about there. Okay, moving on. Indexing updates. So looking at the diagnostics, additional information's been added there as well. So I ran this before. And Catherine added the target audience, or sorry, yes, the target audience information to diagnostics. So here we can see for Divergent where this is being pulled from. So we see it's young adult for Overdrive and adult for this Hoopla audiobook, young adult for a Hoopla ebook. Let's see, these were all young adult. The rest of them were all young adult. And then we see down at the end here that, hey, we had a cloud library one that was young adult. The physical material didn't have any. And we figure out that at the end, hey, the final target audience is both adult and young adult. If for some reason we wanted to say, hey, we don't really like that adult categorization, we then know exactly where to go, and we can say, hey, let's talk to Hoopla about this audiobook and see if we can get them to change that to be a young adult title. So cool information there, hopefully really helpful for us as we start figuring out more audiences and that kind of thing. So let's see, other things. Go back to the release notes here for a second. Um, Determining volume information from Symphony. So Symphony or Cersei has created some reports that weren't exporting the volume information, but we could figure it out. So again, Catherine was able to update that to be able to pull the information from the MARC record as available, and then make some API calls as well to determine the volume information when placing holds. So good stuff there. Had some good Koha updates. Libby, so Cody was working on the academic version of Libby. So LexisNexis has a little bit of a different linking scheme. And then updating the so this is gonna appear in a few places. So what this was, and this is the work that Minuteman sponsored. So here in locations, we've added the ability to define within the ILS account integration the statistical group and the circulation username. So these are for Sierra only. These are used during check-in and check-out. And what this lets us do is credit the actual location that something was checked in or checked out. We also updated to use the Sierra APIs for checkout and check-in so that these would all get credited to the proper location when you're using the self-check-in Lita. We also did add a testing page for self-check. So the idea here is it can be a little bit of a just configuration to go through Lita. So we wanted a way to really test this. Even if you didn't have Lita, this will be available for all ILSs. So for all of them, you will be able to test checkouts, not necessarily check-ins. The check-in is currently only working for Sierra and only works when called internally from this page. So we don't want patrons to check in a book from home and then just keep it. So the idea here is we enter the patron barcode, optionally the PIN or password. If you don't put in the PIN or password, it's essentially doing a masquerade and then checking it out. So let's check this out. The APIs take a second here as it goes through and verifies everything. What we then get on the end of the checkout is, hey, we've successfully checked it out, the title, the due date, the barcode, that kind of information, so that we can see that information is what gets echoed within Lita. And there's a question about, does Lita have a self-checkout feature for consortia? So yes, so you're still logging in, you're still logging into your particular location within the self-check settings. I should have shown this. So here in the Aspen Lita self-check settings, you're determining how you want the checkout to be credited. So here we can say checkouts will be assigned to based off the item location. What this is also doing is saying for Sierra, if the title is on hold, it's checking it out to the hold location rather than the permanent location. So as things go into transit, they will appear in the correct location. It's also doing some verification to be sure that like the hold is for the current patron and that kind of thing. So I don't just walk in and like start scanning things off the hold shelf and checking them out. Or you can credit to the current location that the user is logged into within Lita or the user's home location. So you've got lots of options there to control that. And then to make testing easier, we added the ability to check in a title via the API as well. So, and this will work then for any Sierra library. So good stuff there. And thank you again to Minuteman for sponsoring that work. Going back to release notes, Palace Project, for libraries that have been working with Palace Project in a consortia. We've had a few libraries point out an issue where things weren't updating quite right for all libraries. And basically what we found is there's per title metadata that we assumed was the same for all Palace Project um, collections, but it did actually change. So, and the things that changed were the checkout link and some of the availability information. So what we did is we updated, so yeah, borrow link, preview link, and availability. So that information is all being stored now per collection. So when you go to check it out, it's using the correct borrow link and showing the proper availability. So we've got a couple of consortia that are really, really going to like that. So I'm going to save some of these Nashville specific barcode reports for Brian to talk about in just a second. Other Sierra things that we did. So more work on that self-registration. We also updated, and this is going to happen in multiple places. But if we open the individual issues now, we're going to note that these are all sorted properly according to number, the way that we would expect them to, instead of having to go in and say, well, this is volume 01 and this is volume 02 and 02 and 02A and 03. So this is huge. This will happen everywhere for everyone. So this is now natural sorting of the call number so that the call numbers and descriptions all sort. Well, it's the call number sorting. Yeah. So this is cool stuff. So lots of good comments. So um, they fun. So for periodicals, they sort backwards just because people typically want the latest one first and then the rest sort regular. So not backwards. So very cool stuff. We're very excited about that. Also the ability to, so Sierra has a check-in grid that we've shown that had been hard-coded to specific formats. That is now available within the indexing profile, so you can turn on or off whether or not the check-in checkout grid shows. So if you've got books or periodicals or magazines, that kind of thing that you are using a checkout grid for, it will display properly. There's more of that natural sorting of magazine holdings, more of the self-check. We got checkouts by API, more cool stuff. So user agent report is now can be paginated. So previously there were a lot of potential user agents that hit, and these didn't have pagination on them. We can now say, hey, we're going to show 100 at a time. We can page through them to kind of get an idea of who's using Aspen the most, that kind of thing. So, and then one more that I'm going to call out from, just make sure, double check my notes. Yeah, so from PTFS Europe, we've got, so Chloe at PTFS Europe did exporting CSV, some of the usage graphs. So here, if we see the usage dashboard, so here we've got the usage dashboard. The raw data, if we look down here, has been available before. Basically, you had to copy and paste it into whatever your tool was. There is now an export to CSV button, which is really nice and useful for getting more information back from, or being able to export that into other systems. So that's really cool. There are also a ton in the release notes of other updates. So these are a lot of those bug fixes and that kind of thing. Littler changes, most of the time hard to demo because it's real specific to one customer or a specific setting. But when I print it out, there's like a full page of those. So please check those out as you get these on your test servers and that kind of thing. So lots of great quality of life things. I'll pass it over to Brian to talk through the barcode generation.
All right, everybody. Let me share my screen here. This is our test server that's running 24.09. And most of these circulation reports, if y'all have noticed this module and wonder, like, what is that for? Those are mostly custom reports for Nashville Public Schools, and they're specific to Carl X. But my colleague James did make one that hopefully will be useful to more folks, and that is a barcode generator. So it doesn't say code 39, but this will basically create code 39 barcodes and print them out. So just in this box, you could just copy and paste some barcodes. There does have to be one barcode per line. It also will do letters. So you do submit numbers, and there you go. It makes your barcodes, and it tells you how to print them. So hopefully that's useful. I mean, what James said was, James said that usually sometimes people go to like shady websites on the internet to print their barcodes, or they pay. So now, hey, if you're an Aspen user, you can do it for free. Also, we have a few media banks where they have the barcodes like on the centers of the disk. So we actually can do that too. If you want to create these for disks, you can. So that's super fun too. That's a small use case, but it exists. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Thank James for doing that.